I'll start with that. So we're going to start with some introductions. I guess I will start. My name is Christopher Sleeper, and I am the Honors Faculty Coordinator here at MiraCosta. I want to thank you for coming to our Constructing Successful Honors Contracts workshop. The design of the workshop is to serve as the teaching piece for helping faculty, get involved in honors education. And so there's a lot of opportunities here to ask questions and understand the philosophy of what honors education is. I'm really excited about being the honors coordinator because I really feel that the way that honors has been taught in the past is really outdated. And what we're trying to do is kind of establish some new norms here at MiraCosta, and this is part of that training. I teach history here at MiraCosta. I love reading and spending time with my family up here in Temecula. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm really passionate about, I guess it would be colonial history, but also a lot of the events that happen in today as well. So not so much interested in the 19th century, though I guess it's important. So let's go around the room and introduce ourselves, whether we've taught honors before or perhaps, something that they did fun over the break, and what discipline that perhaps you're teaching from. That would be a great thing. So who would like to start?
I can start. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, James. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is James Diokno. I'm with anthropology at MiraCosta, and I teach at several other institutions throughout San Diego. I see my colleague Keith there also from anthropology. So I haven't taught honors before, but this would be instructive for me because I've been approached for the last 2 semesters by students, and I'm working with our department chair as well to perhaps get trained. So I think this would help me kind of, get my feet a little bit wet, kind of see what to expect and things like that. And I know some of you have already taught honors, so I'll be leaning on a little bit of you as a learning experience for me. Thanks so much.
And thanks, James, for starting us off. And honors is really different at different community colleges, including our sisters and brothers down in the San Diego district. And so I'm glad you're going to be hearing things today that are unique to our program and quite a bit different from some of the other programs such as Miramar, Mesa City, Grossmont, Cuyamaca, and so forth. So can I have another person introduce themselves?
No, I'll do it. Hello, I'm Keith. I also teach anthropology. And hi, James. Great to see you here. I've been doing honors for a little bit. The last few years has been a blur. I'm sure it has been for us all. But it's been such a rewarding experience. I get so much out of the student projects that I oversee that really surprised me, and seeing these students really go in their own direction and they learn something and I learn something. So yeah, it's great to be here.
Great, thank you, Keith. And Keith, you were faculty honors faculty member of the year, I believe in 2020, correct?
Yes, that's right. And that's a huge honor. And
so it's another way to get feedback on your career, and it's something that we have here in our honors program. I think it's great to be recognized, and so I just want to give that opportunity to recognize you because that was awesome. It's awesome. So great.
Thank you.
Maha, I believe you had your hand up. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Maha, and I teach biostatistics and data analysis. And I've never taught honors before. Last semester, they mentioned that we might be getting some honors students, but it didn't happen. And to be honest, I have no idea what we have to do. So hopefully today I'll learn a lot.
That's great. I'm glad you're here. You're welcome. Can I have another introduction, please? Serena, why don't you go?
Hi, I'm Serena Mercado. I teach math. I have never taught honors, but I am this current semester. So I'm really excited, and I feel like I have a lot to learn. And those of you that have been teaching honors for a while, I hope to pick your brains.
Yeah, thank you, Serena. I'm excited that you're going to be teaching our I think Math 131, correct?
Yes.
And that's awesome. And while we're focusing on honors contracts here, you know, much of the pedagogy is still similar in what we're trying to do. And so I'm always here and an asset for you, as well as Jade and Hugo as well. And that's great too. So can I have another faculty member introduce themselves?
I can go.
Yeah,
I'm
Wesley,
Wesley.
go for it.
I also teach math. I've never taught honors, but I have had students request honors contracts in the past at other colleges, which I had never actually done. So
Yeah, yes, it's quite often to be contacted, and it's another thing to, you know, be like, okay, do I have enough bandwidth to be able to take on this opportunity here? So hopefully you'll hear some things and feel encouraged to ask some questions. That's awesome. Other faculty members wanting to introduce themselves.
I guess I can go.
Hi, Nancy, thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I teach German. I'm actually our only faculty member teaching German at MiraCosta. And I remember being approached many years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, by a student who wanted honors. I never followed through. Nobody followed through with that. I don't even know if any of our language teachers have taught an honors class, and if that's even an option for languages here at MiraCosta or not. So it's something brand new to me.
Yeah, Nancy, I'll explain some of the reasons why you haven't been able to teach honors language courses, but it's a kind of an opportunity that we're looking to expand into, and hopefully maybe this can generate some conversations for some curriculum opportunities afterwards. Anyone else that would like to introduce themselves? Don't have to, but you're welcome to. Okay, well, I've invited 2 students to join us and have their experience be a part of this workshop in terms of explaining what they've gotten out of the honors contract experience and honors education in the past. And so Jade or Hugo, if you'd like to introduce yourselves and maybe a little bit of background about your educational experience here. We'll kind of go into some guided questions. I haven't shared with you the questions. I like kind of inspirative thinking on the spot and not pre-programmed answers. So the students have not gotten panel questions, but I certainly wanted them to be able to speak about themselves from the most freshest things that come into their mind. So would either of you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go ahead. So, hi, my name is Jade. I graduated MiraCosta actually a year ago. I'm still sort of here. And so as far as honors courses I've done, I think I've done 6 total courses, which has led to a lot of really cool opportunities. And so I'm an English major. I transferred to UC Irvine. I'm actually transferring again right now. And I hope to teach one day. So I actually hope to be back here with my graduate degree someday, teaching English and writing and literature. Trying to think, I guess, as to kind of keep on the same thread, something fun I did over the break, because I started getting back into the Hunger Games series again. So I'm reading the prequel to the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it's really good. And I recommend it if you haven't read it.
Awesome. Hugo, if you'd like to introduce.
Sure, thank you. Hello, my name is Hugo Peralta Ramirez. I am, this is my 2nd year at MiraCosta, so gonna be 4th semester here. I'm double majoring in history and Spanish, particularly Latin American history is where my heart is, and the Hispanic literature is also my concentration, I would say. I've done the 15 units of honors coursework, mostly in history, a few honors contracts and 1 honors class. I guess something I did over the break was I went to Mexico, so that was very fun. I actually got to tour a cathedral that had Catholic artwork, and that's kind of where my that's where my research for Latin American interest is in.
Great. Well, Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself? Thanks for popping in here.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you great, Lisa.
Okay, my name is Lisa Havig. I teach physics. I'm actually not even sure if my physics 112 class can have honors this semester. I know the application was filed, but I've lost track of when that was due to be approved.
Yeah, probably this summer, but let's look into that a little closer.
Yeah, so I was kind of wondering if maybe I should take this flex in the fall.
Well, once you take it, it kind of clears you off the decks and stuff. You're always welcome to ask questions, but this is just I think good preparatory if you're able to kind of spend some time with us. So, and this is your one opportunity to meet Jade and Hugo and get their experiences. So that's always a good thing too.
Sure.
So let's start with some kind of ground rules. The first ground rule for Hugo and Jade is that please leave out instructor names. You can talk about the course, you can talk about the assignments and the experiences, but again, try to leave out instructor names so that it's just from your own personal experience. But let's start with, so what sort of experience did you have in your honors contract courses? Like, so what sort of kind of instructional did you have as part of your contract experience?
I'll go ahead again. So
Yeah, Jade, thank you.
it's been a little bit of a variety depending on the class. I think the first contract I did was with a film class, and it felt pretty light actually. So I think it was kind of a good introduction to it. But so for that one, for example, I think it was just basically 3 additional assignments. I did a report on a director of my choosing. So it could have been anyone preferably outside of the course content, which is kind of a theme that's carried through all of my contracts. And I like that because as a student, it gets me to go outside of just the curriculum that's on the syllabus and doing outside research, which is the purpose of it. And I think I presented a film that was being screened in class, and then I had a longer essay with a different topic than the non-honors students as well. And that was also kind of typical for my contracts, is having like a final essay that's both longer and potentially a different topic from the non-honors students, or a slightly different topic. In my other classes, it's definitely research-based a lot of the time. So like research-based essays, or essays that have more research behind them. And in both of my literature classes that I took honors contracts in, I also did in-class presentations. So I would work on some kind of research over the whole semester that was, again, outside of our syllabus. So like I would choose an area of literature I wanted to follow. So for world literature, I did Kashmiri literature, which is part of my background. And then I would present that to the class at the end of the semester. So it was kind of also giving me a little bit of teaching experience in a way. And then it definitely prepared me really well for conferences later on as well. And then for my English 202 course, that one was a little heavier. I had, again, a longer paper at the end, but I read an additional book for that course, and I had chapter reports and discussions every other week with the professor. I had a lot more in-depth annotated bibliography, for example, and then I also did a classroom presentation on critical theory itself, which was a really, really big project to do. And that was the book that I read, was the background of critical theory, which informed the paper I did. So it was kind of the general things that I've done is, very much research focused, getting you to do some assignments that are a little bit longer, which I think on reflection, now that I've transferred, is really helpful for transferring too, because I think that all of those experiences of my contracts have really helped me to prepare for transfer, to have, to be confident in doing a little bit extra work on your own, and to be prepared to present that consistently.
Excellent. Same question, Hugo. So what type of instructional experiences have you received in your honors contract education?
Oh, Jade hit the main points. Yes, it's all research based, and depending on the professor, I would say it is either that that giant thematic piece that culminates in either an essay or a presentation. Again, it's divided into smaller bits and pieces throughout the semester. But that's one route that I've had experience in. Another is certainly more of like a variety of topics that you can look into and just really look at those special subjects and meet with your conference with your professor individually and just kind of let your heart roam, I guess. Of course, the Omni is also the cornerstone, I would say, for a lot of the giant theme, longer theme projects. But also, there are at times, at least for the like group or for honors courses, there are you have that cohort, something that's not really present in the honors contracts, so that there is that kind of a feature in the cohort for class that's not found specifically in the contract.
It's definitely a smaller experience than, so we have, of course, our non-honors course class sizes. We have our honors class sizes. So Serena, your class is for honors is as a designated honors course smaller than your non-honors course. An honors contract experience is usually individual or small group. Have either of you ever had more than one student in your honors contract experience, or was it just completely between you and a faculty member? Jade?
So for me, it's been a mix, actually. I think most of the time it's just been me, like in that class, and they have other students in other classes. One time for one of my literature classes, there were actually all 5 of us in the one class. And that was really cool because so the other thing is, like Hugo was saying, yes, there's also the meetings with instructors. And that depends, like every week, every month, it's been very variable. But with that one class, when there were all 5 of us together, we were meeting every other week. And it was nice because we all got to share our research with each other as well. And then sometimes we would help each other outside of those meetings, because sometimes somebody would find an article or a film or something that might inform our research. And so that was nice. But most of the time, yeah, it's just been me and the instructor.
Same question, Hugo.
It has for the most part been just me and my instructors. Only again, the class is the designated classroom is really the only other alternative that I've had. But it's still a good, still fantastic opportunity to connect and just explore your own what you want to and connect with your professors.
When we think about honors pedagogy, oftentimes what I try to really emphasize with faculty members is that it should be more of a skill-based curriculum. So instead of those words of difficult and harder or more, just like more work piled on, I really try to steer the conversation in the pedagogy more towards skill-based ideas of enrichment and engagement. So in that vein, Jade and Hugo, what specific skills have you been focusing on in your honors contracts?
So I think, again, it's carried throughout all the contracts I've done. I think one of the biggest things, and this is really important to me as an English major too, is getting outside of the strict discipline a little bit too. So not just going out off of the syllabus and somewhere interesting else, but also there are a lot of themes that I think aren't necessarily considered to be part of a specific discipline. So for example, in literature, there's so much you can do. It's not just about reading books. There's so many kinds of theory. We can apply literary theories to things that we see now with technology, with medical studies, with anthropology, and things like that. And so that's kind of a skill, is like a multidisciplinary approach to my research. That's definitely a skill I feel like I've gotten to get really deep with. research generally too, like a much more kind of critical approach to research, doing really deep research in not just like, okay, I can do some Boolean search phrases in the databases and things like that, but different ways of synthesizing texts so that things that seem very different, like from different genres or something, can connect really well. And that it's me doing the work of pulling all that together in a way that makes sense to the reader, essentially. Those kinds of things. And I think other skills, as I mean, obviously like with conferences, because I've done a lot of conferences, there's, getting really comfortable doing that. And for me, I kind of relate all of those skills and all of those experiences as well to the career that I want to have, which is teaching. So it makes me feel like I'm a little more comfortable presenting information to people in an educational way. So those are kind of the really like big key things that stand out as far as skills that I've acquired. And also, like building professional relationships with faculty, obviously, because any of the honors faculty I've had, I still work with them. And a couple of them especially are still my mentors as I've transferred out of MiraCosta too.
Fantastic. Hugo, same question. What skills?
Certainly professional development, again, omni presentations, conferencing are all, useful, especially for a public speaking. Certainly something not, something not that I would do randomly. But there's definitely that awesome aspect.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Oh, I was like, did I do that?
As as Jade mentioned, certainly I've had my experience in dipping my toe into some theory for history, specifically like some historiography, some other types of theory, or the way, the writing about history, as well as thinking critically about certain texts and their biases, not, the writers, their influences, you know, and yeah, that's I think that's largely been my experience with it.
So obviously you've both taken numerous honors contracts. What's your favorite thing about that, about honors contracts in general or in specific ways?
I think one of my favorite things is, at least in my experience with the contracts I've taken, is like obviously the instructor has an idea of what they want to do, but also in my experience, it's been this kind of relationship where as the student taking that contract, I can help shape that a little bit as well. Like I've been able to bring my specific interests, my personal interests, my specific research areas into all of the contracts that I've done. And so, like I said earlier with my world literature class, I focused almost all of my contract work on Kashmir, which is, like I said, part of my background. And so, that's bringing something personal into it. And I think like broadly, I think that's good for students to be able to do that too. But that's probably been one of my favorite things, is being able to be part of that process of shaping what I do with the contract as well.
Excellent. Same question, Hugo.
Right, that flexibility is that that's the part that I love, especially and choosing your own topic and finding your own kind of, it's a passion project essentially, and that's I think what I really appreciate. And you're allowed to take it as as long as you do the work, you're allowed to fix it or go in any direction that you're comfortable in, especially online learning in the past year. It's just been so helpful, that flexibility of the syllabus and the contract.
Yeah, oftentimes there's a what we try to emphasize, and often honors education in the past was giving a student an assignment and saying, "Oh, Jade, I'll see you at the end of the semester with your paper." And Hugo, go read these 7 books, and then we'll talk about them at the end of the semester. And what we're trying to really emphasize here at MiraCosta is more collaborative experiences. And so this idea of an honors contract is being beneficial for both the students in terms of the education that they're receiving about skills, about topics, about maybe something, as Jade was saying, that they could use in their teaching, like, so something that she gets to receive and Hugo gets to receive, but also can we also produce something that makes the instructor better? And so, for instance, in some of my honors contracts, like, I love this opportunity that I give my students the opportunity to kind of pick some topics, which again, forces me to be doing more reading, keeping up to date with the literature and different perspectives that are going on. We work collaboratively on assignments. And so oftentimes I'm getting a chance to really see a student's perspective of how they're interpreting that assignment, and seeing how they would be able to maybe improve an assignment and its wording and what I'm asking for a student to get out of that particular assignment. Or perhaps like in media production, oftentimes I'm using students to critique my PowerPoints or to critique my lectures and ways that I can teach that information better. And so I've used students to help me with my research. And oftentimes as we work on a project, we do it together, from picking out a topic to going into certain library databases. We're working on the research experience from A to Z, completely integrated. And it sounds to me, Jade, that was a little bit of what you were experiencing too, in terms of that experience. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, and I think also one of the things too that's been really nice specifically about the honors contracts with the research component of it is having it's not like you were saying, Chris, it's not just throwing you and saying like, yeah, see you at the end of the semester. It's been very, very hands-on with the instructor, which has been great. And one of the things also that I really like has been having planned meetings with the instructor. And I think typically it's been like 4 meetings over the semester. Usually we meet more, and that's been really helpful because we create a plan. For example, like for research, we create a plan at the beginning of the semester, but keep it a little bit loose so that things can be filled in pretty quickly. And then, like when we meet, I come with, for example, maybe I'll come with some research articles, or I'll come with like 4 pages of something written, and we discuss it and we talk about different kinds of research directions and maybe look at it from this angle, or maybe there's a way we could fit in this theory. Or a lot of times too, faculty will have specific examples for me. Like they'll be like, okay, so there's this thing I'm really familiar with. I think, read this article or look at this theory or look at this piece of art and see if you can pull something out of that into your research and that kind of thing. And so having those meetings where we meet and we catch up and we discuss things and we kind of check in on how the sort of beginning of the semester plan is going or something and how things have changed or evolved has been really, really helpful I feel comfortable like staying on track with something, but it's nice to have that check-in though, and to have someone, professional who's kind of heading this to discuss it with. And in some ways a lot of times too, it's also almost turned into like mini presentations during those meetings, which helps to, like, for example, if I'm doing an Omni or something for a class, then it's really helpful because it just keeps building it up to that. So it's good for, I think, keeping on track and having that really structured individual time as well to get the research done. And also, if I'm ever feeling stuck or lost or something, then I have that person I know I can talk to and get some ideas from them as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Hugo, do you have anything to add there in terms of responses to what Jade's experience has been like in terms of, I think you talked about, those literature reviews, going through that information together, correct?
Right. So yeah, you definitely get the meeting with the professor is definitely wonderful. And you definitely get the different interpretations that as Jade was saying, where at least in my experience with the essays, the long projects and presentations, you definitely get to you take notice of certain maybe discrepancies or certain different interpretations that you then can hone out, fix, or make clear. And that's what I really appreciated in those meetings for like the longer type of projects.
It's been harder in the age of COVID to do more community engagement and perhaps service learning. Were you able to, outside of the Omni, do any sort of community engagement or teaching of other groups or going to other clubs or organizations or out into the community? Did you do any of that as part of your honors experience at all?
So I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think that I've maybe only done, okay, so I've done one contract and one designated course during the past few years during COVID. So it's a little bit different. So with my contracts, we had plans that I was going to, create as part of the contract, like create an extra discussion board, for example, in my humanities class, where I would be choosing something every week, something different from my culture that was in line with that week's teachings. Like if it was about art or if it was about sculpture or music, I would take something of that from my culture and then present it to the class. And it just, unfortunately, it didn't end up happening just because it wasn't working to, do extra stuff in Canvas on both our sides. But I still did an Omni. And so like I still was able to present that to my whole class and at Omni. And so yeah, not exactly during COVID. I think that had I taken, like if I had taken some of the other courses that I've done in the past with contracts, if I'd done those during this time, I think I still would have done those kind of community-based things that I've done in the past before COVID. I think it still would have happened. So yeah, not exactly during COVID, but yeah.
Anything you want to add, Hugo?
No, I mean, and exiting high school at the beginning of the pandemic and then still going through it, there hasn't been a lot of opportunities except for Omni. Potentially this spring, a few conferences, but yeah, nothing tangible, nothing definitive, I'd say, on my end.
Yeah, and so we always want to have in our program here this emphasis on quality. Obviously, from listening to these two students, they've had a variety of different learning experiences, but also we have a captive audience here of many first-time or potential first-time honors instructors. Hugo and Jade, can you talk about what were the least favorite things that you've experienced as part of the honors contract education? Again, leaving out specific teachers, but again, least favorite things that have been experienced as part of your honors contract experience.
So I think I've had pretty good experiences. I did have one class where, and I think it's partly the instructor's approach generally, not just with contracts, but I did have one class and I really liked the contract work I did, but it did sometimes feel like it was just a little too much on top of everything else because it was a lot of work. It was a lot of extra assignments, which I know is kind of debatable, but I think having some kind of flexibility with the type of assignment that you do to fill in that extra time that is like the kind of percentage requirement for the contract is good. So that for that one class, that was a little bit of a struggle because it was just a lot of extra, like a lot, like consistent extra assignments that were still meaningful, but I think, at least in my opinion, like they could have been turned into a few larger assignments or something, and it still would have been, as good. I still would have gotten the same amount of practice and skills and everything out of it. So there's that. And then I think, especially considering the pandemic and everything, a little bit of flexibility is good. And there was just no flexibility for that particular class with the contract. I had a few things come up and I had to really, really push to get to the deadlines. So I think having deadlines is good. I like that. I like having that time where I know I'm going to meet with the instructor, like every Tuesday at this time or something, or I know I'm going to turn in my literature review at this time. But sometimes if something really big turns up, I think it's better to have like good communication about it rather than punish for it. So I guess it was still a great class, but with that particular one, those were kind of my two least favorite things about it
Yeah, I really
specifically.
excellent. Before going to Hugo, I really want to emphasize that I have put into the chat some of my best practices and recommendations for honors contract instruction, freshly updated for 2022. And one of the biggest recommendations that I want to just echo what I was hearing from Jade is very clear deadlines and regular and effective contact, right? And so set deadlines, set meeting agendas, keep it structured throughout the entire semester, whether it's 4 meetings or every other week or whatever it's going to be, make sure it's regular and effective. And then also too, those are kind of like our general words that we use for our online. I like to apply that to honors education, but also it really is beneficial for the students in terms of being able to navigate their workloads as well as their life loads as well, in that if you have regular and effective meeting times and dates on your assignments from the very beginning of your syllabus, it's really, really helpful. Hugo, if I can direct that same question to you, what would you do or what were your least favorite things?
Least favorite things. I think they're very. I think these are pretty niche. One was a citation annotated bibliography piece. It was just, I didn't feel like I got the support prior to the construction of it. I got it done, but it was, it was more like a very, no background in it whatsoever. This was my first time with the honors. It was, yeah, definitely, I guess, just need more clarification on that part. I don't know if that was, just a personal thing. And another piece was, sometimes the professors aren't, you know, of course we have our own specializations, which is all good and well. Just, again, that's more of a, it puts you in an awkward position. So those were my only two kind of negative experiences in honors, but overall the communication and the support that you overall get is very, very good.
I think you bring up a great point that I want to echo here. Assumptive of a student's skills is one of the major problems in honors, is that we oftentimes as instructors assume that the students have already done research papers, have citation methods, feel comfortable in a library, feel comfortable in talking to professors. We make that assumption that a student has always been this, high performing student, and whether that is true or not, the key thing is to ask those questions and really diagnose from a conversation with the student, in my opinion, what are the skills that a student has in that area, and what do they need? It needs to be a conversation about those previous experiences, because a lot of times what I'm finding with first-time honors instructors is kind of acknowledgement or not acknowledgement, but without acknowledging previous experiences. They're just assuming knowledge of research and writing. And so asking a student to go and write a 10-page paper, to me, is going to be always led to disappointment by the instructor, because unless you're really explaining how to construct that paper from A to Z, including what goes in your introduction, conclusion, argumentation in paragraphs, and what your general styles of citation are going to be, inevitably it's going to be disappointment. And the students oftentimes bear that brunt of, like, I didn't know what the faculty member wanted until it was too late. That's the probably number one comment that I hear quite a bit. So my last question that I want to ask before we open it up to the faculty members to ask questions of you, Hugo and Jade, is what would you do to improve the contract experience here at MiraCosta? If you could, tell these first-time instructors or established professors like, Professor Chan, myself, what would you do if you could improve the contract experience here at MiraCosta? What would it be?
So I think kind of similar to what you're saying about like have specific deadlines for things, is when making the honors, the contract syllabus addendum, have something that's super, super helpful as a student. Always have really clear dates at the beginning, like when you present that contract syllabus, like have really clear dates for the contract items. And in my experience, like most of my instructors have done this with the contract addendum, is have a discussion about those due dates with the student as well. That's always really helpful because my best contracts, for example, have always been ones where I don't have like all my contract work piling up with the rest, like the regular class deadlines as well. So I've been taking a contract in world literature. All my honors work was not also due at all the same times that the other coursework for that class is due. That's really helpful because I find in my experience the honors work usually takes, depending on what it is, it can take a little longer to actually do it. And it's nice to have some kind of buffer time to get those things done because it usually is something about it is a little different, even if it's just very research focused. Sometimes it's a really different topic or something. So having clear dates, but also having a discussion with the student, I feel like is really helpful. Like, does this seem reasonable? Does this sound good? And a couple of times I've had a discussion with my professors and said, like, this looks good, but can we actually push this due date out a week? Because that would be better for me. And it also is considerate of like other classes that I'm taking or something like that, or my work schedule. So that's really helpful. But having clear dates and having a discussion, I think that's one of the most important things. Definitely good communication throughout, and the check-ins over the semester is really helpful. And I think those are, and like I said, some like compassionate flexibility when challenges do come up or if something really drastic does happen. I think that's really important, and that overall makes the contract experience better as well. And I think those are kind of my main points to it.
Yeah, before going to Hugo, I do want to emphasize that we allow in our contract system 4 weeks for most regular start courses before a contract is due. And the reason why we did that originally, when we first created our contract system in 2017, it was 1 week. You had 1 week from the start of the semester to get your contract in. We moved it to 4 weeks. And the reason why is because we heard from faculty as well as from students that they wanted to see the workload of the course, but they also wanted to see the students' performance on regular assignments. But then also we wanted to make sure that there was time to dialogue about assignments and due dates and how the workload was, meshing with workload and life loads, and being able to understand and make sure that the student has that passion for that type of work that they're going to be asked to be done, but also, are they capable of doing that work? And so this allows the faculty member time and as well as the students time. And that might mean, for instance, that a student's not able to give you an answer on day one for an honors contract, and you might have to tell a student, well, you took too long to make that decision of whether you had enough time. But at least what we see here is transparency in the process, by making sure that there's continual conversations, but also there's agency for both the student. Hopefully you're hearing that from Jade, but also agency from the faculty member, that there's this ability to meet in the middle and discuss what would be the best way to work on a skill or an experience, or what does the student want to get out of that experience. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do in our education here in honors, is really try to make it a collaborative experience from the very beginning, so that students are engaged in reading materials that they actually want to read, research that they actually want to work on, field trips that they actually want to go on, class presentations that aren't just read off of cue cards, but are actually like really passionate deliveries of something that they've really engaged with and want to share. Or community service learning projects that really allow them to build some skills that they might be able to use in a career, one day. So I hope that I've been able to elevate some of those ideas. Hugo, same question. If I can go back to it, what would you do to improve either your contract experience or the contract system here? Or what would you like these faculty members, before they get to ask you questions, what would you like to share with them about how would you improve the contract experience that you've had?
Again, overall good. I think, one thing that I really love and always look forward to in the contract experience is that personal connection, that personal and not just the professional connection that you develop with your mentor. Of course, Zoom kind of made that a little bit difficult at times. So it's definitely, I would say for me, it was a hit or miss at times with a few courses. But overall, still the communication is great. The flexibility is, again, awesome. I've never had an issue with that. Oh yeah, I don't think I can say much else on that, Professor.
Great. So now I'd like to open it up to our community here to ask questions of either myself or Hugo or Jade. What questions do you want to ask of these students or myself that you perhaps have about honors education that we could answer here that would allow you to become more informed about our, I've been trying to show you some slides without kind of reading them off to you, just so I feel like it kind of gives you the flavor of what we're trying to do here in honors. And then I'll go into some specific ways where you can find some more resources as well. So I would like to open it up. You can either put it into the chat or you can ask questions directly by putting up your hand or just unmuting yourself. That's completely fine as well. So is there any questions that we want to ask? Maha, I see your hand. Would you like to ask a question?
I just wanted to understand a little bit more about the honor contract. You said it has to be due within 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So what is in that contract? I mean, by that time, like if I'm teaching a biostats class, it's not clear. They wouldn't have enough skills to do a project that I might have thought of. So what is happening in those 4 weeks? I mean, I'm not sure what the contract contains. Does it contain what we're going to be doing the whole time, or?
Yes. Yeah, so it would be over the length of the entire semester. That a contract is actually a really simple. Let me pull one up here. So I'm going to pull out of this and see if I can get to. See if I can do this here. So hopefully we can. I'm sharing now so to find some more information, the key thing is to go to our honors webpage. And on our honors webpage here on the bottom link is honors contracts. Here is where you can find your contract, what they look like, the courses that are approved, what an honors contract looks like. Maha is just a simple document, really. That explains that the student is requesting and you're supporting the ability to create an honors contract. It doesn't have any methods of assignment, evaluation, or instruction there. That is all going to be in your syllabus, in your honors syllabus, that we can provide some sample from kind of related disciplines, maybe not biotech, but we can hopefully find some related disciplines with some kind of similar language that can work for you, that would be able to kind of help you in that development. But that's something that's kind of something I have a lot of experience in helping faculty members develop their syllabus that would specifically explain their assignment, their methods of evaluation, and their methods of instruction. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. But I mean, I guess my question as well is the project you decide on or what to do, when you're starting like you're not going to have it all clear. When do you have to know exactly what they're going to be doing? Because they're still learning. And if you're.
Well, usually you haven't the 4 weeks. So in our regular semester class, it's going to be February 17th is going to be the deadline. So ideally, you would have had enough conversations to explain and to explore what you want to do. I usually have, while we're talking about student freedom and advocacy and agency, which I think is important, I do have limits, right? There's certain things that can be done. And what we're not doing here is taking a 100 level class and making it a 300 level course, right? Or 400. We have to be clear about what is, attainable, what is possible in a semester. We have funds and you might be limited by lab time or resources, and we can help with some of those things, but we can't overcome some of those other realities. So we have to make sure that the assignments that we're focusing on. So usually I have, two types of this, syllabi ready. I have kind of a research oriented syllabus that I'm ready to go with, or I have a topics-based, more readings-based syllabus. And my third one that I used to have prior to COVID was more kind of service learning, experiential learning, like going into archives. So I would take students to like the Nixon Library or down to the San Diego State or UC SD Library or San Marcos Library. And it would be like skills-based that we would work on in libraries. And so I haven't done that as much. So I've kind of kept it to a research one or a readings-based one, since we're not able to do as many field trips in this age of COVID. So I have some ideas in mind that I present to students. They still get to choose their topics or their research focus, but that's their agency. But it's at least giving them a choice of where I think it's capable and attainable in the realities of what I can do at this time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Other questions?
Hi, Chris. This
Hi,
is
Leila.
Leila. Sorry, I
good.
just joined the meeting because I was in the Senate and it just ended. So you may talked about this before. I apologize if I'm asking a question that you already answered, but do you make an announcement to your class the first day of the class that I do accept honors contract? And the honors contract, is that something that you refer the student to the website to go and find the contract and fill it out and submit it to me, or me as the instructor should get the contract and hand it over to the students?
I heard two different questions there. And so the first question that I'll take first is the who bears the responsibility for the contract? And what I would say is that the faculty member at all times bears the responsibility for submitting that contract. And so all the language in the best practices form that I sent out, as well as on Canvas, on our website, all specify that the faculty member is in charge of turning in all materials. The first question that you asked is, how do you recruit students? There's really no one way. You have 5 contracts to work with based upon your teaching load to work with, and I can work specifically with faculty members. There's not one way. But what I do on in pre-semester actually is starting now, even like a day like today or on Tuesday, whenever you are kind of making your first introduction, I let it be known like I am interested in teaching honors, contract experiences. And but what I do is I make it specifically clear that honors is for everyone. So anyone, not just someone in the honors program, can take honors courses, and that essentially, if you are interested, please contact me and we'll have a separate conversation. Because as I said before, is that I want to give the students some agency. I want to get to know the student. And so usually the first conversation is a phone or email exchange about, what are you interested in, Hugo? What are you interested in, Jade? And we start the conversation there about, are you interested? What are your meeting availability? I think this is critical information to have. I don't sign up anyone on their first interest is basically. So if a student says, oh, I'm interested, I'm like, you get a contract. No, I wait. And so I want to find out, is the student able to do this work? What's going on with their interests or availability? Of course, COVID has a say in this. I've had students say, I want to do this in person. I've had others say like, Zoom is completely fine. So I think it's really kind of important. And then the reality might be also, Leila, that you might have more than 5 students indicate interest. And that's tough because a faculty member can only do 5. And so then you might consider having an alternative assignment, some sort of, prompt that doesn't exclude someone, but might give your your student an opportunity to show a creative way of doing the work or expressing interest or writing, or it could be verbal based, it might be something, just to see if a student can ask questions. Like if they don't understand something, do they show that initiative to ask questions? And then two, can they make a deadline? So oftentimes I think that's important too, is using those first 4 weeks in a way to recruit some students. Oftentimes what I do is, even though I've made it known that I'm willing to teach students, I will always leave a couple slots open. And the reason why is because I wait until like the second or the third week for a student to really demonstrate, like, wow, that was a great assignment, Hugo. You did an amazing job. Would you like this opportunity? So, because a lot of times students initially are like, well, I'm not sure if I can handle this, or I'm not sure if I'm an honor student. I never was one in high school. And so they immediately feel like this isn't for them. And what my advice would be for you, Layla, is that you have to encourage students. You, again, part of a job of a faculty member here is convincing oftentimes a student that they are an honor student. And I oftentimes say here at MiraCosta, and this might be one of my big thoughts to share with you, is that we don't have honor students here at MiraCosta College. We make honor students here at MiraCosta College. And so it's not a birthright. It's not something that just says like you have it. It's just something that we're trying to do. We're trying to develop skills. We're trying to develop, confidence. We're trying to develop, this agency of collaborative, behaviors, so that it's mutually enforcing that a student belongs and has that opportunity to participate. And that's something that we want to see. Like, can we help a student become more confident in their abilities, more expressive, more willing to engage with a professor or a teacher, instructor, what have you? I think those are some important things. Layla, did I answer both of your questions, at least how I understood them?
Yes, absolutely. But I have 2 more questions now.
Sure.
Do you have anything written on your website about benefits of honors so I can share that with the students?
Yes. Yeah, we have those. And in terms of more that I could share with you in terms of like what are the benefits, and we do this all the time for students that in the perspective, but also like what do you get out of this in terms of benefits. We have a sheet that we send out as part of our materials that you can adapt to your own interests and needs and send that out to your students.
When do you send that?
We have it on our honors faculty page on Canvas. If you're not a member, please let me know, and I will make sure that you're able to have that link, because I have materials on there for recruitment and engagement. And part of that recruitment module is ways to recruit students with its benefits.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I agree with Maha. She just put in the chat, if you can share the slides with us, that would be great. And then how many LHE we get for every contract?
0.227 and 0.227 per contract. That comes out to 7 hours at your instructor rate. And so then you would be able to have that. I also saw in the chat that there are faculty looking for examples. So if you email honors@miracosta.edu or honors contracts at miracosta.edu, we will send, and you let us know what discipline that you're teaching in. Let us know your discipline, and we will send you, or related discipline, we will send you examples of approved contracts from previous semesters. And of course, I'm always happy as well to look at those as well and give you feedback on methods of assignment, evaluation, instruction, any of those kind of tips that I'm able to help. I will even, if you want, give you a free copy of Building Honors Contracts, fresh off the press of 2020 from the National Honors Council. And all you have to do is tell me that you're interested in receiving. This gives you a lot of great advice for creating equitable, inclusive, and dynamic honors contracts. So we have resources all across the board, but if you want a free copy of this, Building Honors Contracts, I'm always happy to give you and send you a copy of this to your mailbox too. So.
Thank you so much. And I just checked my Canvas. I do not have access to the honors.
Send me a request. I saw another
Sure.
faculty member do that. I'll check the chat and I'll start adding people right after this workshop is done. And or you can email me at honors@miracosta.edu. I'll start adding people this weekend so that they can have access to our honors faculty pages, all the latest and greatest resources and information, and of course, announcements throughout the semester about honors instruction. Any questions for our panelists or myself that you'd like to answer as we come to a close here? We're about done.
I just wanted to make a comment. I just realized, but thanks for your questions, Layla. It really helped. So last semester I was told, oh, Maha, you can do honor contracts. I assume the student will come to me and say, I'm doing honors. But now I've learned that, no, that doesn't, I'm like, well, I didn't get any honors students. So I realized that you offer the honors, right?
Yes.
It was like the first time I
do.
hear it and nobody said anything but that.
We have about 400 plus students in the program. And so many times you will be asked by them. But that, like, for instance, Jade's in our program, but she's kind of in and out of our program right now. So she may want an honors experience, she may not want an honors experience. So that's why, remember, you are our best recruiters of this experience too. So if you're interested, I definitely recommend letting faculty know, letting your fellow faculty know and students know that you're interested in teaching honors. We also, if you would like to be added to a list, we do have a list on our honors website here. And I'm just going to go here real quickly. We have a list here of all instructors that have indicated that they're interested in teaching honors. So we share this with our students. And so if you would like to be added to this list, we would love to add you. And so, we would love to add Lisa. We have David on that list, but we would love to add you, Lisa. We would love to add you, Layla, if you're not on this list here for mathematics. But essentially, it's an always growing list of faculty members. If you would like to see yourself added to this list so that students find you a little bit easier, we would be happy to do that as well. Okay. So are there any other questions that I can answer at this time? If so, please continue to hang out. But we've come to the end of our introduction to teaching more successful honors contracts. We could talk for days and hours and entire moments, but at this time, I want to make sure that I respect your time and schedule. So whatever you would like access to or more of, this is supposed to be a starting point for conversations to go forward. Hugo and Jade, I want to say thank you for helping me out in teaching today and sharing your own experiences. And if you were willing to hang out for a little bit so that faculty can maybe ask you some specific questions, that'll be great. But at this time, I'm just going to kind of be hanging out here. If you would like to type a question or ask a question verbally, then we can do that. But thank you. Have a great day of Flex and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. Great job, Jade and Hugo. How do you feel that went?
I think that was good. That was good. It was fun.
Yeah, I used to just verbally talk at people and go through death by PowerPoint. And what I found is that this is a better way of doing it. It's kind of fresher where I have like some tips and people are listening to you and I'm showing some kind of key language on the PowerPoint and so on and so forth. So I want to say thank you. At this time, I'm going to just kind of turn off our recording. Yeah.